I would like to thank you all for being here with us, for joining us in this webinar. My name is Stavros Koulikaris, and I am Business Development Manager at ITWay Hellas. ITWay Hellas is the value-added distributor in Greece for scale computing. Scale computing is the market leader, one of the market leaders, and maybe the most important one worldwide. So what we'll do today is that today we will focus on hospitality solutions and how scale computing can help hospitality enterprises to transform the business into a 100% digital enabled industry. What we'll see and what we'll watch is the simplicity and the easiness that can help IT staff minimize the management effort while in the same time maximizes the performance. Simplicity in edge computing is the latest trend worldwide. And today you will watch one of the world's industry leaders on this topic. Our today's speakers, let me introduce you, is Mrs. Natalie Monod, Regional Sales Manager of Scale Computing, and Mr. William van Kolenburg, Senior Sales Engineer of Scale Computing. Finally, I would like to let you know that the webinar will be recorded, so it will be easy for anybody who would like to watch it again to request to see that, and there will be a Q&A section in which you can write every question you have, and we will answer all these questions at the end of the presentation. So thank you very much again, and I'm giving now the speech to Mr. William David van Kolenburg. William, the stage is yours.
It will be me first, I was.
Yes, I was. Excuse me. I saw it in the top.
Yeah. Thank you for the introduction, Stavros, and good morning, everybody. As a very rapid introduction, I would like to emphasize, because I'm a bit ill today, my voice won't be as clear as I would like, and I could cough during the presentation. Hope it won't be too painful for you. Let's start this presentation defining edge computing very rapidly. Edge computing describes a physical computing infrastructure located outside the four walls of the data center. Means that storage and compute resources are placed where they are needed. The infrastructure at the edge collects and processes constantly growing data that we can see whether the explosion of IoT and the broader distribution of commercial web applications. Edge computing has become an important and a growing trend since, let's say, 2020, after a long phase of centralized computing and a wide adoption of the cloud. And the question is, why do we need to take data out of the data center? The cloud has significantly helped businesses in their digital transformation, there's no doubt, providing better availability and scalability, and without the burden of managing IT infrastructure. Unfortunately, the cloud also has its limits, starting with the costs. Those costs increase more and more as the cloud has been largely adopted. as I previously said, with IoT and broader distribution of commercial web applications, data explodes and needs more and more bandwidth. Moreover, for some of these applications or for data that are used, for example, for decision-making, latency is not an option. Well, resiliency also is a problem. According to IDC, 80% of the companies experienced a cloud breach in the last 18 months. And what happens if you can't reach the clouds? That's the question. Another important point is what's the impact of data sovereignty? Personally identifiable information, data retention, all those regulations. It's an important question because most of the time we even do not know where the data is. But we are not saying that all data should be out of the data center. With scale computing, the idea is to give you the freedom to put your data where you need them, where you want them. If we take, for example, applications needing high availability or collecting vast data, vast quantity of data, those applications can be executed at the edge. You can collect and analyze some data on site when it will perhaps make more sense for you to send other data to your central data center or to the cloud also. What is important is that all this should be manageable with one-click centralized solution. Well, let's have a look to the different IT infrastructures we can find in a hotel. You can see this one. For smaller sites, we still find one or more servers, each one with an application. The problem with this type of configuration is that you get no scalability and no high availability. The most common one is the virtualized architecture. But here again, you get no high availability for your application. The third one is what we call the 2-to-1 architecture. Consists of doubling the number of servers and adding some SAN type storage. And this architecture offers high availability, but it's much more complex to manage and much more expensive also. Another important point to emphasize is security. You have probably more and more IoT devices in the hotel, and each of these IoT devices you use represents an additional risk to the security of your hotel. And at Scale Computing, we propose to rethink the on-premise architecture and to replace all this, I won't say old, but all this common architecture with a fully integrated and high available solution to run the most important applications. To go further, and as much as possible, the idea is to install virtualized IoT applications on the cluster. You secure the cluster with your favorite solution, security solution, and this makes it much easier to protect all your application. Now, we know that an on-premise architecture creates a certain number of challenges. You see the main here, and probably you know them already. The first challenge is human. Most of the time, you have few or even no IT resources in the hotel. That's why the solution should be as simple as possible. And for your distant sites, all should be easily and centrally managed without having to send someone on site. Space is another challenge. All hotels do not have and can't have a large server room. Here, a microcluster like an Intel NUC based cluster with a very low footprint can be the solution. You will see later how we can provide so small solutions. Furthermore, such a microcluster have a positive impact on costs and power consumption. We know, we all know that it's complicated to have 100% availability of the connections. And this for different reasons that you can read here on the slide. For example, network congestion, bad weather, etc. Last but not least, it's probably very difficult for you to plan the resources you will need in 2, 3, 4 years. Will you have new applications? Will you have new IoT devices? That's why here the solution should be scalable and be able to grow with your needs. At Scale Computing, our mission is to suppress all these difficulties, and this is what we do for many years now, but some words on who we are and what we do at Scale Computing. I'm going to start with our DNA. Stavros mentioned it in the introduction, and this is a word you will hear a lot even in William's presentation. Our DNA is simplicity. Over the years, IT infrastructure vendors have done very little to decrease the complexity of the solutions. And this causes many challenges, as we saw, and adding to this high education cost, high time to manage, and some others. In our minds, IT infrastructure should be like a utility, you know, when it's William generally speaks about Formula One compared to an automatic automobile, but we can take another example. When it's dark and you arrive in your home, you just push a button and the light goes on. You do not have to think about the tremendous complexity on how the electricity is generated. And effectively, at Scale Computing, we believe that IT infrastructure should be as simple as possible. This is why we radically simplified installation and ongoing management. We also designed in high availability with the objective to eliminate all unplanned downtimes. At Scale Computing, we provide hyperconverged solution in the data center and at the edge, means fully integrated solutions, including server, storage, virtualization, and disaster recovery capabilities in one appliance. And all the functionalities, anyway, you will see in the presentation and in William's demonstration, all functionalities are included in only one license without the need of third-party licenses. Scale Computing is an American company. Well, I'm not going to comment everything here. Just the main important point. We were born in 2007, and we launched our first hyperconverged solution in 2012. We have offices all around the world. Our headquarters for Europe is based in Holland, and we count more than 25,000 installed systems in the world. As you can see here, we collaborate with many technology partners. I can quote Intel, Lenovo, and Dell for the hardware, but also Acronis, for example, for backup and security, or as a perhaps less known but growing companies at the edge like Avasa or Mako Networks. For the rest, we are highly rewarded, but for the rest, I really encourage you to check what customers and analysts are saying. You just Google Scale Computing and you will see. These are some big references. I took one per market. We work for Deleuze, for 800 stores. Here, it's a reference that probably interests you more is Genting casinos. They have more than 40 casinos, but we have other references on hospitality market that we will be able to provide you. Same case in manufacturing or in marine. A big market for us, Greece, also here. The scale computing solution consists of three main parts. The hardware platform, obviously, and William will show you in more details SC Hypercore, scale computing Hypercore. Hypercore is our hypervisor. It's the foundation for deploying, running, managing, and monitoring applications in the data center and at the edge. Fleet Manager, William will show it to you also. Fleet Manager is very important because it's the solution that enables you to manage a complete fleet of cluster running SC Hypercore from a centralized web-based platform. This is our value proposition. Is in fact a summary of many things I said already before. Simplicity again. Our solutions come pre-configured. We provide an intelligent pre-configured storage pooling. You have nothing to configure. You do not need a complete team with different expertise like compute, storage, virtualization, etc. You even do not need any IT expertise on site for those having many hotels on distant sites. A full cluster can be deployed in less than 1 hour. And it's not written here, but it's important. You have only one single point of contact for support, as scale computing provides the support for the hardware and the software. High availability, I would say, obviously, as we are speaking about hyperconvergence here, but above this, our platforms are fully self-healing. And you have the possibility to build a complete disaster recovery plan without adding any further license. I said it already. Scalability. We saw it is important. You can start with exactly the resources you need and grow your cluster according to your evolution. You can grow from a single node and you grow adding new nodes. You can go to 8 nodes per cluster. And this is totally transparent and can be done without stopping the cluster. In addition to this, you can mix the nodes. That means you can mix different size of nodes, different families, or different generations of products. And that is essential to protect your investments in the future. And finally, an important one for everybody, the costs. We have the best TCO on the market for different reasons. The first one is the fact that you do not need a third-party license. Everything is included in the stack. A second one is our capability to provide very small cluster. On which you can execute still 15 VM. We can do this because probably, I don't know, William will mention this later, but our system compared to our competitors consumes very few resources. It's only 4 GB and a small part of a core per node. This is what I show here. If you consider the same resources here, it's a real case, and we compare scale computing with Nutanix. In fact, on the same hardware, you can run more virtual machines, and thus you save some hardware costs here. And here you see as we can you can execute some VMs on very, very, very small clusters. Very rapidly zoom on this small form factor cluster because I spoke about it already, and to show that hardware is not the only saving. Thanks to this small cluster, you can save on power consumption, on logistic costs, because when you need to send nodes on site, is just you do not need to send an IT guy with a server. You just send a node in an envelope, and no on-site repair, or much less on-site repairs needed. And these are also considerably reducing the costs. I think it's time for me to give the hand to William for more technical details. Stavros said that if you have questions, you put it in the Q&A, and we will answer at the end. Well, I thank you for your attention, and William, please, that's your turn.
Thank you, Natalie. Thank you. So, hello, my name is William van Kollenburg. I am a sales engineer, senior sales engineer at Scale Computing since the 1st of January 2019. And before that, I've worked at companies like Citrix, like VMware. I've seen the market, and especially the hospitality market is one that I particularly like, because the hospitality market has the needs of the enterprise with the budget of an SMB very often. And I think that our solution is actually one that really addresses this unique combination. I want to give you guys a very short demonstration of our products, highlight a couple of the features that we have in our product, and once done, give you the ability to answer questions. If you have deeper questions, if you are really interested in the product, obviously, I would like to ask you to reach out to Stavros and the ITWay team to set up a deep dive demo and a deep dive discussion on your requirements and how we at Scale could address them. The first product that I'm going to show you today, as Natalie told you, our Scale Computing platform is built up out of two products. It's the Fleet Manager and it's the cluster. The first product that I'm actually going to show is the Fleet Manager, because the Fleet Manager allows me to manage many clusters at the same time. Fleet Manager is actually a tool which allows you to manage up to 50,000 separate locations, separate clusters in a single pane of glass. Now, some of you will have customers that are a single hotel, maybe even a single bar, maybe even a single restaurant or something like that. And some of you will have customers that have hotels all across the country, maybe even hotels all across Europe. Some of you will have customers with multiple different restaurants, and you still want to manage those customers as a single customer. And this is where Fleet Manager comes in. Fleet Manager, as you can see over here, gives me an overview of what is the status within my environment. And admittedly, this doesn't look that good, but that's because it's a demo environment. So I've got I've got 3 systems in this Fleet Manager registered, of which only one is healthy, but we'll get to that later on. I can see all the versions that are running in my environment, and as you can see, most of my clusters have 9.2.22 and one of them has 9.2.4. And then below here you see a list of conditions that exists in my environment, with the most critical on the top and the least critical at the bottom. So you always will see in one look what is your most pressing issues. Then next to that, or actually the button below, I have an overview of those 3 clusters. Now, like I said, this system allows you to manage up to 50,000 clusters. Unfortunately, my manager didn't give me 50,000 clusters to manage, but I only have 3 over here. So what I'm seeing over here is a list of my clusters, again, with their status. I can add tags to these systems. So as you can see, this WDVC 150 cluster is my main demo system, but I can edit this. So I can actually also say, this is the cluster for location 1, or I could say this is the cluster for a hotel in Athens. I can do whatever I want with that. And the nice thing is with all of these tags, if I am looking for a certain cluster, I can use the search bar and use any of those tags that I've put in there. So I can use obviously the name of the cluster that I'm looking, but I could also say, you know what, I need the one for location 1. And then again, I get this cluster with location 1. So these tags are very meaningful in the GUI over here. We also have an API, a script in engine if you want. So if you want to use certain scripts to manage certain things, you can also launch these scripts against our API and use these tags to filter out systems. So for instance, you could actually say, run this command on any cluster that has location 1, or that has Athens in the name, or anything like that. Now, in this list with clusters, I can already see how these clusters are doing from a storage, memory, and CPU perspective, but I can actually click on the cluster and get a more detailed vision. So over here in this more detailed vision, I actually get an overview of how each and every node in the cluster is doing from that same perspective. I can see how many drives those systems have, how many CPUs, and how many cores. And I can see all of the workloads that I have running on there. And one of these workloads is my domain controller. From within this same view, I can also directly go to the cluster. So if there's anything that I need to do on this cluster, I need to change anything, I can go to that particular cluster. And for that, obviously, if I'm in the right network, I can directly connect to it, so bypassing our fleet manager. But very often you are not in that same environment. You might even be on one of the islands and you have to manage a cluster on the mainland, or your office is on the mainland and you have many hotels dispersed over many of the islands, and you are not always in the right network. We also have what is called secure link, and secure link is a way to create a secure connection from Fleet Manager directly to the cluster without having to use a VPN. So as you can probably see over here, the URL that I'm connecting to is still scalecomputing.com, but I'm now connected to a direct cluster. Just to show you what the difference is there, if I go over here and directly connect to the cluster, so over here you can see the IP address of the first node. It looks exactly the same. The only difference is that we're connecting through our secure link. And I can do this. Let me close all the ones that I don't need. I can do this for the entire cluster, but I can also do this for a single VM. So let's say that I have a problem with a virtual machine. I don't remember on which cluster it runs, but I do know the name of this particular VM. I could actually type in the name of that particular VM in the search bar in my VM list and go directly to that VM. Or I can use the tags that are set on those VMs by saying, hey, I know that it's running in infra services. And now I see all the VMs that have a tag that have infra services in here. So it's very easy to find a VM. Now, obviously, like I said before, the problem is with my third domain controllers, with my DC03. So I can just simply, at the end of this line, without having to go directly to the cluster, I can immediately go to that particular VM and start managing that particular VM, again, through our secure link feature, which allows you to basically from anywhere in the world to link to this system. One of the questions I usually get, so I'm going to answer it directly, is, William, hey, that's really nice, but can I protect this, for instance, with multi-factor authentication? And there the answer is yes. You can actually protect Fleet Manager with multi-factor authentication through either a Microsoft login or a Google login. So if you have Microsoft Azure AD, or if you have Microsoft ADFS running, you can include your multi-factor authentication into this system. Another thing that we can do on the clusters page is actually create a cluster. So one of the things that you will often see, and especially in a country like Greece, where you have so many islands, travel is not always the easiest in the world. It can be very beneficial to, if you have to do many installs, to actually have those installs do themselves. So as you can see, my cluster page is divided up into a deployed clusters and into a staged cluster page. Now, over here at the top of the page, at the top right of the page, I have a button that's called Add Cluster. If I click over here, I can say, you know what, this is Hotel Kos. I really like Kos. I've been there a couple of times, so Kos is my favorite from the islands. Stavros made Athens very favorite for me too, but that's a different story. So I'm going to call this Hotel Kos. I'm going to set the subnet mask that is required over there. I know that I have a 24-bit network over there, so I'm going to set the subnet mask. It's going to ask me for the router or the gateway that I have over there, which is, in my case, is 192.168.1.1. Then it's also going to ask me for a network mask for the backplane and a VLAN for the backplane. Now, the last two are only required if you have the smaller nodes, because the smaller nodes have less network cards than the larger nodes. We do the backplane traffic, so the traffic from node to node on a separate VLAN. If you have larger nodes, you will have multiple network cards, and those multiple network cards will divide that traffic physically. But let's assume that we're going for a small form factor system here. Now, over here, I can start adding those nodes. And as you can see, these nodes, I can see the serial numbers of these nodes, and I can see their pending state. So these are all of the nodes that I've ever purchased from Skill Computing. When I purchase these nodes from Skill Computing, as soon as at Skill Computing we generate the serial number, you will find it over here. So you can already start installing or preparing the install for this cluster even before the cluster is at its location. So I'm going to add these three nodes to the system and click on close. And now you can see that I've gotten an additional set of information. So now I need to put in the IP addresses and the backplane IP addresses for these nodes. So I'm going to start with 192.168.1.11, and I'm going to copy and paste that over here and make this one 12, and copy paste and make this one 13. And I'm going to do the same for the backplane. So that, as you can see, is a completely different network, but I still need to have the right IP addresses in there. So I'm going to put 10.20.30.11 till 13. I don't have to manually put in all the license codes because this is being pulled from our centralized systems. I don't need to put that in because it's already in there. And I simply click on Create Cluster. When I'm clicking on Create Cluster, it will actually go to the staged clusters list. So over here, I can see Hotel Kos. And I can see that it's waiting for these nodes to come online. I can click on it and I can see the actual status. So these are really, really small systems over here. As you can see, with their license codes, they're still pending. These are going to be their IP addresses and these are their serial numbers. As soon as these nodes arrive in the hotel where I want to deploy this, and I ask, for instance, the electrician that's present there, or maybe one of the more technical staff over there to put in the power and put in a network plug. As soon as they come online, the first node that comes online will download a configuration from our website, or this configuration from our website, and the cluster will start installing itself. Once the cluster is done installing itself, I can simply just go to that cluster, as you've already seen, use the Go to Cluster button, and I can start administrating this cluster. Now, I can start administrating this cluster in two different ways. The first one, and by far the easiest one, I have this cluster over here. It's completely installed. Obviously, over here, there's already VMs. That will not be the case in your case because you have to create these VMs. But creating these VMs is really, really easy. I simply just click on the plus sign over here. I'm going to call this particular one, I'm going to call it Hotel Kos Domain Controller 1. Let's do something nice. I can give it a description, so I can say this is the domain controller. Tags in our system are relatively important because the tags are actually defining where this virtual machine will go to. So in this case, I will create a new group, which is called demo, And when I hit enter over here, you can see that I'm going to create a new group demo. I've got this group Acronis over here. I've got a group Docker Infra. I've got Infra Service over here. Now I'm going to create a group called demo. The operating system, well, it's going to be a domain controller. So it's going to be Windows. Obviously, I want the best performance. I can choose a boot type. I'm going to leave this at BIOS. So it's easy. I'm going to give it a couple of CPUs. I'm going to give it a little bit of RAM. I'm going to give it a 250 gigabyte drive. And I've already uploaded these ISOs. So normally you would have to upload an ISO for the installation. But let's say I'm going to make this server 2019. So I click on create. And within 5 to 15 seconds, you can see that this VM is over here. Now, this VM, when I power it on, I still have to install it. If you already have built templates, so let's say that you're administrating more than one hotel and you already have created templates, it's very easy to use our import button and just import that template, start it up, and then you have a pre-installed system. Now, here's a nice thing. When you are moving from an existing virtualization technology to our technology, you could actually not only import skill hypercore templates in here, but even though it says here it's only for hypercore format VMs, this wizard will actually also accept Hyper-V and VMware VMs. So migrating from your existing technology to our technology could be as easy as just using the import button over here and importing those VMs over here. Last but not least, obviously, I can also use a template that I have over here. Just simply hit the clone button, put it in the right group, and click on clone. And within the same 5 to 15 seconds, I will have a virtual machine created. So basically, with Fleet Manager and the cluster being as easy as it is over here, it is extremely easy to not only administer a single site, not only administer a site as if you are local, but also from remote administer your entire environment in a very easy and user-friendly way. And I think for now, that is that for my demonstration, which means that I'm going to give Stavros the stage again. Stavros, are you there?
Thank you very much, William. Thank you very much also, Natalie, for your previous presentation.
You're welcome.
I hope what you hear from us today is useful and peaceful and makes you wondering if you can have more information about this issue and about the topic of scale computing and its value proposition. And we'll be very glad to hear about your comments, about your questions, about anything you would like to define or to learn more. Also, you can, if it's more easy for you, you can talk in Greeks, and we can translate it to our colleagues. Or you can also type in Greeks to the Q&A, and we will also translate it and explain it to Natalie and William, so you can have questions. At this point, I would like to ask if there is something you would like to define, and if you find the topic of scale computing interesting for your business.
At this moment, Stavros, I don't see any questions popping up. Yeah. But obviously, I think that's usually it takes some time to generate those questions. So if any questions later on come, I would strongly suggest to send those questions by mail or any way of messaging to Stavros, and he can reach out to us to answer any of those.
I will also add that we are quite frequently in Greece with William. Means that if you need to know more, if you want to go on in more details, we will be more than happy to meet with you there as soon as we're there.
I hope you find it interesting, and we are, of course, at your disposal with very big joy to contact you and to explain you how you can exploit this technology to your businesses. Thank you very much.
Thank you all, and bye.
Thank you all. Cheers. Bye-bye.